Yeah? Okay, right, so I'll start. So we're going to make our Swiss roll today, and the first thing you need to do is put your eggs in your mixing bowl and have your caster sugar ready and put that all in all at once. Then what you need to do is whisk for about 5 to 7 minutes until the volume increases and this becomes very creamy and quite moussey in texture. Okay? As you're whisking, move the bowl around so all the air gets into the mixture. Now I've already put my oven on and my oven's on 200 degrees C. And the cake takes about 8 to 10 minutes to cook until it's well risen, golden brown and springs back to the touch. And make sure that you have your speed on the highest, number 3. And you can see, I'll just stop the whisk, you can see that this is already becoming slightly paler. It's not as dark yellow, and the volume's starting to increase, but it's still not like a mousse. It actually becomes quite mousse-like in its texture. And when we lift the whisk out and go like this, we can write the letter W, and the beginning of the W is still there when we get to the end, then it slowly disappears. So it's very, very foamy. Now keep a close eye on it because you don't want to overbeat it. If you overbeat it, the volume starts to decrease. And if you're watching it closely, you'll notice that. And you must stop the whisk as soon as you think the volume's decreasing, but try not to get it to that stage. Right, this is making a good trail. It says it leaves a trail. The whisk will leave a trail pattern. And I'm just going to do the W. And yeah, the W's working. I can see it when I finish it. Now, depending on the freshness of your eggs and whether they're maybe organic or intensively farmed eggs, you might get more volume than I've got. This is not like a massive volume. This is kind of a medium level of volume. But some of you, your volume in your bowl will be more than this. Depends on the eggs. Just get rid of that. So now what we need to do is very carefully fold the flour in. Now there's 2 techniques that you can use for folding flour in, what we call a figure of 8 or cutting and folding. Just gently scatter all the flour on top of the mixture. And then make sure you use a metal spoon, not a wooden spoon, because that will burst the air bubbles. And just make like a figure of 8, just carefully to get all the flour mixed in. Do it quite slowly because this is not a beating action, it's a folding action. Okay? And when you're cutting and folding, you just literally spoon the mixture over itself like this, and that also helps to keep the air trapped and add a little bit more air into the mixture. Sometimes you get pockets of flour in the bottom of the bowl, so do make sure that you give a good folding and cut and fold as well as use the figure of 8, and that way you should make sure that you've got all the flour mixed in. Okay? So I'll just cut and fold a bit more, and I'm just doing it really gently, and you can also overfold it, so be careful as soon as the flour is mixed in, don't keep mixing it. It's not necessary, and you lose volume the more that you touch the mixture. Okay, there's just a few little pockets of flour I'm finding on the bottom, so I'll just keep folding. Right, that seems to be it. Yeah. Okay, the next stage is to get it into your tin. Just mix that in. So using your spatula now, just put this on one side. Put the mixture into your grease lined tin. Now, I just didn't explain at the beginning, so I'll say it now. There is a bit of grease on the actual tin, and then the grease-proof paper itself is greased. And make sure you do get some grease into these corners, because that's where the cake can sometimes stick if it's not greased well. Right, now we're going to get this cake in here, and what you do is you pour it. I'll pour it away from me so that you can see. Just pour the mixture and very gently push it from behind with the spatula, like this. Got some pockets of flour there. Just push it into the tin. Okay, now we don't spread this out with a knife, you just use your hand and you just lift the tin and you just slowly let the mixture pour into the edges like this. Okay. Okay, so that's ready to go in the oven. It takes 8 to 10 minutes to cook. So put your timer on so you time it accurately. And the texture you're looking for so that you know it's cooked, we call it a spongy texture and it should spring back to the touch. And I quite like to give this example because cake mixture is very like a sponge. If you just, you know when you touch a sponge and you just lift your finger off, it springs back. That's actually the feeling that you're looking for when you touch the cake on the top, that it springs back just like a sponge. If when you touch it, it leaves a very sort of little bit of a handprint where you've touched it, that means that the cake's still a bit liquidy and a bit too soft underneath, and you need to leave it in the oven a bit longer. But you are also looking for that golden brown colour. So this will go in the oven now for 8 to 10 minutes. This is to help prevent the cake from sticking to the paper, plus you also end up with some sugar on the outside of the cake to make it taste good. Right, okay, now my cake mixture has stuck a little bit on this edge here, so I'm going to put it on there and just cut to make sure it's loosened and it's not sticking to the tin before I flip it and roll it up. And it's just caught a little bit here as well, the cake mixture, just down this side, so just cut there as well. But this, the rest of it is fine, it's not stuck there. It's stuck a little bit here as well. So just make sure you do that so that it's loosened. Right. Now you'll notice I think one of my ends is a bit higher than the other, so I'm going to roll it from this end because the smaller, flatter end is easier to start the rolling process. Okay, so just flip it, give it a bang, and then, whoops, lift this off. And you need to work quickly now because the cake is cooling all of the time. And once the cake goes cold, as I said, it won't roll. So just get the greaseproof paper off it. And although you need to do this fast, also do it carefully because I have seen students rip their cake in half pulling this off. So just be careful when you're doing this as well. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we do the trimming. And just get these off the paper so they're out of the way. And you can see how using a big knife is better than using a smaller knife. It just means you can work faster. Make the dent, like I said, about 2 cm in from the edge. Just make that dent. Then get the jam on as fast as you can. Just use the back of your metal spoon to spread it. And then if you want to spread it a bit further out, just use the knife. Okay, and now we're ready to start the rolling. Okay, so just to start it, just get this pushed over and then use your greaseproof paper to pull the cake around away from you like this. And then just hold on to it. And that helps to keep it rolled together, rolled up. Just hold on to it just for a few seconds. And have a look. Yeah, it's rolled successfully. Sometimes you'll get little cracks on the surface. Mine's cracked just a little bit. But because it's a homemade cake, it's actually with a Swiss roll pretty hard to get perfection. So what I'll do now is just pop it on here. Just lift it with the knife like this so you can see it. And see how it's rolled nicely because I trimmed the edges off, but if they're too crispy it just won't do that. And then you can just scatter a bit of icing sugar on the top of it with the shaker. Okay, and there we go, there's our finished Swiss roll.